I'm from the Gulf Coast, Fairhope, Alabama, which is just above Orange Beach. And I usually travel from pretty much the entire panhandle from New Orleans over to Tallahassee along the coast. Practice-wise, I usually try to practice about 5 days a week for 2 to 3 hours every morning. I primarily nail on handmade shoes, so you incorporate practice into your daily work. The amount of sacrifice being on the American Farriers team, it's quite a bit. It's taxing on the family and stuff. You have to balance, I have 4 kids. My wife runs a boarding stable, so we have 38 head of horses on the property. You're always tending to farm stuff. And so you're just constantly working. You just have to figure it out. You have to prioritize certain days, certain times in your schedule to do your family stuff. And then the team pretty much trumps everything else. So we practice once a month at least. The whole point is to give your very best effort and take a lot of pride in representing all of the farriers in the United States when we travel to the international. So for me, there's a lot of pride in it. I've got a lot of years on it, and it's just the pinnacle of the putting all your practice and time comes down to 2 days at Stoneleigh. And so you're just steadily trying to peak right there. And so there's not much that I don't kind of, when I'm working and stuff, everything's geared that direction towards competitions and thinking about that. In 06, Billy Lewis and Kenny Nelson and Russell Colvin introduced me to like certification and stuff like that. And then we went to some clinics and stuff. And then I met that team, which was Billy Reed and Todd Walker, Travis Coons, Bill Poore, and that group. And it was just looked neat. I'd always competed rodeoing and different stuff throughout school, and it was just something to go for. So I saw them do a demo at the convention, and then I was like, well, that's what I want to try to do. And so the first time I made it was in 2011, and then 12, and then now I've been on it since 2019. And so it just seemed like a fun thing to do. Each man has to learn to do his own job. Like, you have to put in maximum effort on your job, but you also have to be willing to sacrifice for your teammates. So if you need to give up a little time, so maybe your teammate's a little slower or struggles with something, a certain aspect, you just have to balance it to where it doesn't do any good to have one person on the team score bad and one person on the team score great. If you can balance everybody out to where everybody runs an average, then that's when the team do good. The more practice you put in, competitions you go to, clinics you go to, you learn, and we always joke about then you start to learn how much you don't know. And so then every day is an education. If you ever start to think, well, I've got it figured out, then you need to take a big step back and readdress. Go get around other like-minded people. So get around your teammates, call guys on the phone, start sending pictures because you're missing something. And then so the more you learn in the practice with having all these guys critique your work to the minute detail, you start feeding that into your everyday work, and then your feet start getting better, your efficiency level moves up. So it's a big financial sacrifice being on the team, because if we're not at home working, we're losing money technically. And then the AFA only supplies 3 practices that are paid for. We practice every month, so it's out of pocket for the rest of the practice. And then when that happens, your horses, your schedule never changes. You don't skip horses, you just have to shoot more horses when you're home. So your efficiency level comes up, your quality of work comes up, your clients get happier, your work will progress to the point that nicer clients start moving in. You can get rid of the not bad paying clients, bad horses. And so it's just a progression, but it's all about learning and focusing on the basics. Because although we're getting ready for Stoneleigh, everything we're talking about at the practice is just the bare basics: flat, nail placement, nail fit. And it's just the basics. You can't practice the basics in there. It's kind of a personal deal, but it's like I've never been one to care too much about being in front of people or putting my stuff out there to be critiqued. I think if you could maybe start small, go to a state contest, or just go to find the best guy in the area and go work with them and have your work gradually start being critiqued, instead of just thinking you're going to go run to the convention or something and throw your stuff out there and just get, just maybe not have a successful venue. Maybe it's a big hit, but you always have to learn that the more times you're knocked down, you just have to keep getting back up and moving forward. And every time you get up and move forward, you're a little better and a little farther along, and eventually you'll get there. Now, that's the guys that just want to start. And they can even start like with the pre-certification and work in the certification with the AFA, and that puts their work in front of people. They're getting used to being scored and having their work critiqued. And then they can move on into the competitions, and they can do it together, so their shoe quality is better when they're going for their journeyman and things like that. The difference between the middle of the road, the higher end intermediates, and then like the open guy, the top open, the team members, and whether it's the WCB team, American Farriers team, England, all those guys, that last couple 2%, 1%ers is just the amount of time that we spend honing our skills. It's all a matter of sacrificing the time. Anybody could do it. It's just a matter of how much time are you willing to give up to do it. You don't get to say, well, I have 4 kids and 2 dogs and 3 cats, and that's why I didn't do it. That's the excuse why you didn't go do it. You could sleep 1 hour a day, 7 days a week. That's still 365 hours a year. That's more than saying you're going to go out and do it. I'm going to take Saturday and practice 6 hours. Well, that's a big chunk. Just start out 30 minutes. Go build 1 shoe a day. Build a pair of shoes a day. And then go nail them on and put them in your truck. So then you're getting reward because you're getting paid for what you practiced. And then you'll financially start liking it. You'll get more resets out of it, and your learning, your education level comes up, so that then you become to where when we say we practice for an hour, 2 hours a day, a lot of the open guys and top guys, we're just building shoes for our truck. I mean, there's front shoes and there's hind shoes. Everything else is jewelry. Whether it's a roadster or, all this other stuff, it's still just a front and a hind. So if you practice that, you can practice and make money all at the same time. So it kind of helps balance out the time frame of it. My wife helps me a lot. Like she's constantly, if I get down, like we call it humps and valleys, if you're in the valley and you're kind of down and out about it and stuff, or maybe you're coming off of practice and you didn't have a good practice that weekend, that's when you just, like Allison, she's like, well, you'll do better next time. But your teammates, that's when having your teammates is a big deal, because we talk every day. We have group chats, we're sending pictures. Most of us call each other every morning driving to work, the first stops. And the odds of having all 4 guys down at the same time is probably not going to happen. There's going to be one guy that's in a good mood, and he'll pull you back up, Well, try this, or, figure this out, or work on this, or don't worry about the big picture, just fix this one little thing. And then when you got that sorted, we'll move on to something else. So it's just about your mindset and the people you keep around. If you stay around and hang out with guys that are always, well, that judge just didn't like you, or this or that other, then you're going to just fall into it. So you got to stay with the guys. Well, next time we'll do better. And that'll eventually pull you up to whatever level you're trying to get at. Yeah, it's like, the best way to explain it's like having 5 brothers hanging around each other. There are days where you might have 2 of us rolling around on the ground trying to kill each other. And then an hour later, everybody's eating dinner and laughing and joking. So emotions play into it, because you're putting everything you have into it. And if it's just not good enough that day, their job is not to pat you on the back and say, oh, you're doing great. Their job is to tell you, well, you suck today, but tomorrow will be better. But so some days, yeah, you flare up, but it is a family. Like, we know each other's kids, their wives, and their birthdays. It's not just when we talk on the phone, it's a lot about shoeing, but probably 80% of it is, how's your truck doing? Did you talk to your daddy? How's your mama doing? It's just, you wind up being a family. And that's why when you're off of the team, like, so Ben and them are old teammates of mine. And so it's just like walking into a family reunion. When we're around each other, how are the kids? They're getting big, you know. So it's, because if you think about it, we're here for 3 days. We're doing 4 runs. Well, that's only really a total of maybe 12 hours. The rest of the time we're sitting around talking, eating, you know, hanging out. So it does get to be pretty close to it. So you do have to sort out something. It's, you know, it's kind of like a marriage. Everybody's got to have a little give and take. Like, you do something that aggravates me, quit, and then I'll quit doing something that aggravates you. So if not, we're gonna have to go sort it out.